Welcome in to a brand new episode of Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. I'm your host, David Cochran, and here with me tonight are my co-hosts, Jeremy Darr and Caleb Culver. And sorry, I had it written that we had a guest. We do not have a guest this week. It's just us, the boys, taking on the premiere, so don't even worry about that little hiccup. What brings us here today is Star Wars, The Acolyte, Disney Plus series. We got a brand new live action series on Disney Plus that takes place about 100 years before The Phantom Menace, and it is a show that was described by the showrunner as a viewpoint from the bad guys. Leslie Hyland said that the Star Wars universe has always been the rebel underdogs against the mighty and evil empire. So she wanted to do a story from the bad guys side of things, where the good guys are actually the most powerful force in the galaxy, and the bad guys are the underdogs. That explanation of it got me a little more hopeful. I thought it's a cool concept to think of in that way. But did it actually play out that way? Did this series premiere bring Star Wars fans hope? Tune in. We'll let you know. But before we do, make sure you're following us on socials at Why So Sidious Pod, X, TikTok, and Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. And hey, when you're following us on Spotify and checking out our episodes, go ahead and if you're feeling like it, we got a little support the show link at the very bottom. So if you're feeling like it, no pressure. We're not going to come after you, but it'd be cool. So our recent episodes, go check them out. We just did our most recent MCU rankings episode, numbers 17 through 11. We are getting into the top 10 next, so go check that out. Honestly, it was probably our funniest episode that we've had since we started this, at least in my personal opinion. I thought it was a pretty funny episode, so I highly recommend going and listening to that one. We also just dropped our review on Old Man Logan, leading into Deadpool and Wolverine. We had a special guest, Mark from Montana, on the pod with us, and it was a good time. And we got a little news and just kind of a little nerd therapy kind of thrown in at the end there too. So there's plenty of stuff to listen to. It's a good episode. So let's get into this. We have 2 episodes of this show, The Acolyte. It was a double episode premiere. We'll do one episode at a time. And I'm not going to get into a really detailed recap, but I'll just a refresher for you. So, episode 1, OSHA / not OSHA that we find out kills Carrie-Anne Moss's character in an intro scene in a bar. Master Endara. She later denies that it was her who did it, and it's brought to Coruscant. Good Lord, I am killing this recap. The Jedi then investigate after her prison shuttle crashes on the way to Coruscant, and we see that OSHA has a twin that survived after burning down their village and killing their entire family. The Jedi track down OSHA in a scene straight out of The Fugitive and or To Catch a Jedi from the Clone Wars. And we then see May walking up to her master. May is the evil twin of OSHA. Walking up to her master, who is giving a speech about the Jedi as he ignites his lightsaber for no one to end the episode. So real quick, I'm just going to throw it out. I can't believe they just killed Carrie-Anne Moss in the first freaking scene of this series. Like, she was such a big part of the promo tour and everything behind this, and got interviewed about her Force Fu and how they customized it to her personal deal and all this stuff, and she died in 5 minutes. Like, were either of you bummed that she was straight killed off there, or did you not care?
I was stoked about the fight, and it didn't hit me. It didn't hit me that. First of all, I loved her as a Jedi. It was Trinity. It was totally Matrix style. She fit as a Jedi. And it didn't hit me that she died and passed away until you texted me, because we watched at a very similar time, and yeah, then it hit me. I was like, oh my God, they did. She was totally all in the promo. She was so good as a Jedi. So then as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, okay, I can get behind this character for this whole show, So yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah. Love, what'd you think?
Maybe she knew she was only in the show for 5 minutes, because I thought her acting was kind of mid. Like, her delivery on the dialogue seemed kind of bland. Maybe she was doing a Keanu Reeves impersonation. But yeah, I just didn't like the dialogue overall, like with her and May talking back and forth. It seemed like super, like, I don't know, like they weren't acting, like they were just like trying to act. Like it, but the one scene I did, or the one line I did like was where she says, the Jedi don't attack the unarmed, and May goes, yes they do. And I was like, oh shit, like, but it seems like they're kind of just teasing all these stories and giving exposition without actually going into anything.
Yeah, which I'm assuming they'll get into later, and they won't immediately reveal a mystery in the first freaking episode like they did in this one too. So I kind of at this point hope they draw it out, because they had one mystery and I was interested in it, and then they just solved it. But I will say, so I know you had said that about the dialogue, so I went back and rewatched the intro scene, and her dialogue wasn't great, but I thought May had the bad dialogue.
Yeah.
So she does it in this scene, and she does it at the very start of the next episode. Fight me with all your strength.
Yeah,
Like, what the hell is this corny line she keeps repeating word for word? Like, is this a mantra of hers?
There's got to be something behind it, because it's very, like,
to say it twice.
She's religiously
Intentional.
doing this. Yeah, intentional is a better word. So we're going to learn something about that. But again, that's another example of another mystery they just set forth, and you're just full of these mysteries. And the one that engaged us, like that's what I was saying. I was so engaged on episode 1 because I was engaged in that mystery. So when that was gone, I was not very excited to start episode 2. I'm just like, okay, that's what I was holding on to.
Right.
Still good, though. We're going to get into it. That's, I'll stop there.
No, you're good. Yeah.
I did like the fight scene, though, between them, because I am a fan of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So you definitely see that with the way she's jumping and using the force.
Dope.
That's kind of same thing in the old samurai movies. So I did like that.
That was clean. Carrie Ann Moss's little jump up the staircase, that looked good. Like, that looked sick. And that's why I was so bummed, because, yes, the dialogue wasn't great. And, again, I don't think the dialogue's been good through the first 2 episodes as a whole. It's been kind of awkward. But her demeanor during the fight, it just... Yes, it was Trinity dressed as a Jedi, because it was the same fight style, but it worked for me. I bought into it. I was like, yes, this is a Jedi. This is the calm demeanor a Jedi has during this fight. And she stepped in when May finally threatened somebody's life. Like, yeah, she was beating up some people, but once she started actually getting to a threatening, like, lethal position, then she steps in and she held her own. I was bummed, because by the end of the fight, I was like, hell yeah, okay, I'm down with this Jedi. And I swear, when she took it to the chest and then May walked off, I was waiting for her to open her eyes. Like, I thought she was faking it to let May go away, and then she'd report back that there's some killer, going after. Nope. Yep, she's just dead. She's dead.
Reva's a beast, bro. Reva's a beast.
Reva?
Yeah, she can take shots. No one else can.
Oh, I thought you were just being racist, calling May Reva.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. 3 inches, it was directly in the location where her heart is. So it was a tiny blade, but it's probably, the 1% kill shot on that. And I don't fault that. If it was another character, the kill shot would have been fine with me. But it was just like, we killed her off in the first scene of the series after all that? That was a bummer. So, yeah, there was some stuff in this first episode which were kind of goof. I mean, we got a fire in space, which people have been having a field day with that on the internet. We got that scene where there's just a fire burning in open space, which is impossible because there's no oxygen. And a human, on top of it, being the one to put it out, which my buddy Josh was like, I am pretty sure a fire extinguisher is not going to work in space for a lot of reasons, but I don't think any part of that scene made sense. So that's a nitpick. Obviously wasn't a massive part of the episode.
Right. A lot of the stuff in space in Star Wars doesn't make sense.
There's no sound. So one of the things we love the most of the Slave 2 or Boba Fett's ship or Jango's ship dropping that type of
seismic charge.
Seismic charge. Obviously that wouldn't exist in real life because of the sound. So that's fair. That's a nitpick. So let's get to the mystery real quick. So obviously, I picked up on the fact that it wasn't Osha who was the killing, because we see Osha later in a life-threatening situation, and she can barely even use the Force. I think what she was trying to pick up something. I forgot what it was, but she couldn't even get to it, and she was about to die. So I was like, okay, instantly, that was a different person who killed that Jedi. So I was thinking maybe it's the Faceless Men kind of deal, where somebody is straight up wearing a mask of hers, or a mental manipulation of some sort. I don't know. Obviously, it ended up being the twin, and they revealed that instantly. But a lot of people on social media were like, that wasn't a reveal. You could tell in the trailer that she had an evil twin. And I was stumped, because what the hell? I didn't get that. So I'm curious, did either of you have that already in mind from the trailer?
Well, of course not. Well, remember she throws her mask over her face. All right, go ahead.
That, I totally forgot, too. I was right there with you. Remember the leak I read about where there were 2 sisters and one of them goes to the dark side, and one of them goes to the light side.
Oh, holy crap. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, same.
But that was a leak from months ago. That wasn't in the trailer.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. But I kind of liked it at first because I was thinking, because what Leslie Headland said, where we're going to be kind of rooting for the dark side, rooting for the underdogs. Mm-hmm. And I was like, damn, like this girl is just like blatantly lying to everyone. She's like, I didn't do it. I wasn't even there. And I'm thinking like, damn, she's dark side as hell. Like she's fucking badass. Like she's just a pathological liar. And like she has like this cool little droid. I'm like, okay, like she's this acolyte, but she's living this like double life at the same time. I think that could have been kind of a cool story.
Yeah,
that's what I thought was a possibility, at least.
Yeah, like rooting for this bad guy in a way.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought it was a split personality deal, and then when it was revealed, my wife was watching it with me, and she was like, "Obviously," I was like, "What?" She's like, "It was obviously a twin." I was like, "Oh, I was leaning towards split personality, but twin was an option." But I was definitely leaning towards split personality. Oh, you're going clone? Yeah, that's the way to do it too.
It's just something that popped into my head.
No, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
When she's getting questioned, she seemed so genuinely innocent, and that's when I was like, "Oh, this is interesting," because that's her. That's who did it. That's what she looks like. But she just seemed so innocent. So I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting." But we still have the mystery of why she's killing them. I'm still kind of hooked on that.
Right.
So that's
and I don't want to. I'm gonna skip ahead to episode 2 real fast, but
there's mystery though for sure still.
I have a feeling it's going to be like a Professor X thing where they just like overused their powers or did something stupid as this group of Jedi, and whatever they did hurt her in some way, in a big way. So she's out for revenge for something like that, and I think that's why we will end up siding with the dark side with this show, because what they did is probably pretty stupid or pretty messed up.
I think that's what they're doing with this. I think they're going to make the Jedi easily hateable. I think the plot here is going to be the Jedi were self-righteous and made a call that was not something you should be doing, and I'm pretty confident that's where we're going with this. But I will say this though: out of any of the old Star Wars series besides Andor, when have we got to sit here and talk about where they might go and like theorize all this stuff? Like, that's fair.
I think there's a lot of good stuff about this show.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, I finished episode 2, and I actually do like it, man. It's actually pretty solid. I like that they're working with the characters a lot. You could tell they are prioritizing the characters and the story. There's nothing flashy about this. It's a story, and I'm pretty hooked.
All right. It was interesting. So with her twin, was that a forced FaceTime again? Because she saw her as the younger version of her sister, which I'm assuming is the last time she saw her, is how she was seeing her in this forced time. But they were talking about things that happened. So this wasn't a vision. This wasn't like this. They were interacting. And then her eyes went black, which I had an issue with that. If we're doing the whole evil thing, why would you not make her eyes go Sith? Go Sith red? What is this possessed by a demon all black eyes that showed up in that scene? I was like, that was a perfect opportunity to have her eyes go red. Like, I just thought they kind of, it was like, I was intrigued by it because I was like, who is this possessed form? But then we got the reveal later that it's just her evil twin. And so it was like, well, why didn't we do the Sith eyes there? But it felt like
if anyone's going to be a force dyad, it's going to be some force sensitive twins, right?
Yeah.
It's a dyad.
Kylo
Ray and Kylo. Yeah, bro. Come on.
Palpatine says you're a dyad in the Force. This is why you can FaceTime whatever you were and feel the rain.
I never knew that. Dyad.
I have a nitpick. Why would they leave a former Jedi who just murdered a Jedi on a ship alone with just droids? Like, so it's this prisoner ship with just droids, and the Jedi were going back to Coruscant. They were supposed to be taking her with them. And I was waiting for, like, okay, where's, like, the Jedi on this ship? And it was just a couple of droids. She gets out of there. Everyone escapes. So it was like...
Not only that,
not a good idea.
You just conveniently have a prisoner who could just hack into the pilot without touching him. You could just hack right into the pilot. And then another guy with... another guy with super long arms that could just reach out and grab the prisoner, grab the guards. So.
Dude, that one prisoner who looked like Darth Vader without the mask on was creepy as hell. Like he had like the black part over like his mouth.
That was the one who hacked into the robots.
Yeah. He was creepy as hell.
It's pretty weird. He's like half pig, half Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So we got some information in this episode that Osha was brought into the Order at 8, which is too old. And she
Very
also
old.
just lost all of her family from her planet burning up, and her. So a ton of red flags, which we've been told the Jedi don't take people in like that because that's a massive risk, because there's massive tendencies of the dark side right there. So they made a big deal about Anakin later down the road. Yoda was around when they took Osha in too, and this fool's just acting like, "Oh, we don't do that. You did already, Yoda. You did already."
Good point.
Maybe something bad happens and he learned from his mistakes. Well, he didn't, because he did it again. And the whole Jedi Order.
I was going to say. Which, speaking of Yoda, so somebody asked the showrunner, Leslie, if Yoda was going to appear, and she said something like, "Oh, can you imagine if they let me do that?" So my question is...
I will be...
But my question is, why won't they let her? That kind of seems like a red flag to me. You're going to... Like, how would we not see him? He'd be like 700. He'd definitely be a higher up in the Jedi Order on Coruscant, in the Jedi Temple.
Big time.
He'd at least be mentioned at point. I don't know. So it feels like, why didn't they let her use this? Unless they kind of had an idea of, we're not going to let you touch the important stuff. You do, So it was just kind of weird that they didn't let her touch Yoda at all. But
Right, because you can tell at the end of episode 2, she says, we have a small council that is convening to talk about this. So it's going to be like Yoda made this. They'll probably just mention Yoda, and they made this. He made this small council. You know?
You better at least mention him.
He's the Grand Master 100 years after this. And he's 700 at this point. So he had to have been a higher up at this point still. Like, he wouldn't have been an unknown during this era. So it's kind of weird that Lucasfilms or Disney wouldn't give them the chance to do that.
I think you nailed it. They must have just had like an exclusive, like, don't touch lore or don't touch big characters contract thing. Because I noticed a meta commentary line, and the guy says Corpsec is about as far away as from Coruscant as you can get. That sounds to me like this is as far away from the stuff you're familiar with in Star Wars as you can get.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. A little bit.
So that might have been a thing, and it totally seems like that. There's been zero mention of anything, zero Easter eggs. It's just new people, new story. So
yeah,
but Yoda belongs there, dude. 700 years old. I feel like that's prime Yoda when he would be like the man, the Jedi Knight, like
slinging
the
Jedi
Master at that time.
Yeah, no, he should absolutely be there. But speaking of the Jedis, real quick, I don't want to pass this up while we're talking about the first episode. We obviously get introduced to a lot of new Jedi. So we got Master Soul, who's the actor who played in Squid Game. We got Daphne Keen's character, who is the Jedi Padawan. I forgot what her name was. And then we've got Yord. He's kind of the pretty boy guy who focuses on fashion more than anything else. But he's brought in. He's the one with the yellow lightsaber. He's also the actor who claimed that Anakin Skywalker blew up the Death Star twice in 2 different interviews. So it wasn't a slip of the tongue. He said it in 2 different areas.
He gives me Serial from Andor vibes.
A little bit. I can't think of it right now, but he definitely gives me vibes of a character I don't like. So we'll see how he goes.
Same.
Going forward. And then we got, what's the master, the green skinned woman? She's the one who's going to have the lightsaber whip. I forgot what her name was already. But she's obviously going to play a larger part going forward. She's Nebula and Gamora combined.
Yeah. I was going to say that, too. I wasn't a fan of her. I don't know her name, though.
Yeah, I liked Carrie-Anne Moss more than her. And so, again, I'm thinking, like, why did we get rid of her for these other characters? I don't get that. And we get a brief glimpse at a Jedi who's meditating and floating there. And his name was Torben, Master Jedi Torben. And we get into him later in the next episode. But he's played by Jeffrey Dean Chapman? Some 3-named word. He plays Tommen in Game of Thrones. And I didn't recognize him
twice
at
in Game
all.
of Thrones.
Oh.
Yeah, he does, because he's another Lannister kid in Game of Thrones and dies, and then he shows up as Tommen Lannister and decides to jump out of a window. He has a similar fate in the show. We'll get into that later. But, yeah, so we got introduced to a bunch of new Jedi characters, and then at the very end, we get introduced to a new Sith character. Now, I'm very curious. Caleb, what did you think of the last scene here, where May is walking up to the Sith who's giving the speech about the Jedi? Did it hit? Did you like it? What did you think?
It kind of hit because I liked his dialogue. He's kind of talking in like kind of like a Balin Skull kind of way, where he's just speaking in metaphors and talking about how steel or laser are no threat to them. An acolyte kills without a weapon. So there's definitely like with this whole attack me with all your strength. Don't use weapons. There's this whole like training she's going through with this guy, and he's just putting on a little pizzazz, whipping the lightsaber out. Everyone's got to do it every once in a while. He's getting fired up.
I mean, Darth Maul did it in Solo, but I didn't mind it then, so I guess that's somewhat biased. Like, who was he igniting the saber for through a hologram? But, it's Darth Maul. We don't touch that. Okay. JD, what'd you think of the scene?
So I'm not like, I like it, but I'm just happy that they have a mysterious dark character that we get to follow. I think that fits into this vibe that they've established really well. And I liked the voice because it's different. So I'm like comparing Vader and Kylo Ren and the masks and the voices, but they kind of butchered that side of Kylo, and I think they would learn from the mistake and do something. I really wonder who it is. I wonder if it's someone we know, but he's scary and intimidating. He has a decent speech. I would have to go back and I don't remember what he said, but I'm happy. I can't wait to see who he is.
Okay. Well, so I'm on the outside. This scene kind of felt cringy to me. I liked the words he said. I thought the voice sounded like bad ADR. I thought it sounded like. I felt like it sounded like somebody making a prank call using a voice modifier, and then saying the lines to the point, but not like Kylo's mask. I know Kylo's mask distorts stuff. Darth Vader's distort stuff, but it felt like poor quality voice modifier.
Tried to do it.
Yeah, it just felt too much. I thought it would have been way cooler if they're a little more subtle with it. And then the ignition at the end. So the whole thing with the voice, the way it was being delivered, and then the lightsaber igniting, it felt kind of forced, I guess, to me. But the lines, the words that he said, I thought it would have came off way cooler if they did it differently. But it just, when the episode ended, I was just like, ah. And my wife looks to me and goes, "This isn't a good show." I was like, "Oh, no, that's an unbiased opinion right there." Like, she has no idea. She didn't even know this show was coming out until I said, "Hey, there's a new Star Wars show. It just came out tonight. We're watching it." And she goes, "What is it about?" And so I briefly explained. And by the end, she's like, "This isn't very good." And she didn't stick around for the second episode. But so that's why episode 1 didn't land a ton for me. There were aspects I really liked. I still had hope for it, but there were just as many aspects that I wasn't crazy about that they did. So I know JD, you liked episode 1 a lot. I don't know. We weren't planning ratings on this or anything, but would you like say it's like an 8 out of a 10 for you or anything like that? Or
I would not. I think I might say it was an 8. I mean, considering. If you don't consider episode 2 at all, was the reveal at the end of episode 1 or the beginning of episode 2?
Episode 1 ending.
Okay, then that brings it down. I mean, it's not going to be an 8 then, because if that's the end of the episode, that's why I wasn't excited to continue. So yeah, let's go with, mid, high 7.7.
Straight up.
Love. I liked episode 2 more than episode 1. Maybe I'm
really.
I was starting to maybe lean because I watched it again. Sorry.
Yeah, because I feel like it kind of gets going a little bit more. We kind of, and it's, I don't know. We'll talk about it, but I liked episode 2 more. So I'd probably put episode 1 at like a low 7s, and then maybe put like episode 2 7.5.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm at low 7s. So. All right. Well, if you want to filibuster for a second, I got to take a piss. So give me about 30 seconds here.
Oh, Master Soul. He was definitely my favorite character from episode 1. You get those lines from the trailer where they're in that Jedi training session, and the kid talks about how he's seeing fire, which was like a crazy line.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Very dark side.
But he's like, it's a power we must respect, or it will consume you like fire. Like, he definitely has Qui-Gon Jinn vibes. That's what I'm getting from him. Where he's he's not like super strict in his belief in the Force. Like, he still has feelings for Osha, his former Padawan, and he talks about if we don't meditate on the past, we're doomed to repeat it. So he's very wise. He's definitely my favorite character so far.
Me too. He's awesome. I didn't expect that. I didn't know what to expect after Squid Game, but definitely steals the screen. I didn't even consider comparing him to Qui-Gon, but he matches that energy big time.
Talking about Master Soul?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I got that. I got the Qui-Gon vibe from him, especially we see that little clip of him coming to Osha when she's young after the tragedy, and he gives her that like kind of look of compassion, but like I got you kind of look.
Right.
So I like, I love
But
him.
not your sister. She can't come.
No, she's dead. Don't tell her. Don't tell her. We're leaving her behind. She's freaking crazy. She's got that look in her eye.
Did they ever say why Osha left the Jedi Order?
Because
They thought she killed someone, or was that?
no, she just left because I think she was getting into trouble, or she had decided that she wasn't built for this for some reason. I don't know if it was like
Right.
discipline. She didn't have the discipline to follow what they were doing. There was some type of outlaw aspect to it where she felt she failed, or this wasn't her place, and so she left. But I don't think she killed anybody.
Okay, that's interesting though, because I never, I feel like it's like this strict religion where you can't leave. Like,
That's
especially
what
if
I
you've been
thought, too.
trained to be a Jedi for what? She started as 8, and then it's 6 years ago. So what? She was trained for
Go off
8
into the
years.
world with these skills.
Yeah,
trying
okay.
to kill a bunch of people.
Right? Like, little risky just letting her go. I mean, but hey, I guess that's kind of the older ways of the Jedi. It's showing they're not as strict as I'm sure in the Clone Wars era. It's like, nah, sorry, like you're a Jedi now. You're kind of stuck here.
It'd be a bad look, though, if that was their type of deal. Like, oh, no, you either die or stay with us. You can't leave into the real world anymore. Like, that'd be a tough look. All right, well, let's get into episode 2. I know there's a few talking points we didn't touch on yet because we're kind of waiting on it. So, even quicker recap. May, Osha's twin, tries to take down another Jedi named Torben, but can't due to a force field. She meets an accomplice who gives her poison, and the Jedi drinks it willingly after apologizing for some mysterious thing that he feels guilt about. The Jedi get a confession out of the supplier and hunt down May. We learn that May's goal is to kill the 4 Jedi who were stationed on her home planet, Indaru? Oh, no, sorry, that's the name of the Jedi. Indaru, Torben, the Wookiee, and Master Soul. Those were the 4 Jedi stationed on her planet. May and Soul fight in the street. May escapes. And the episode ends with May learning of the Wookiee Jedi's whereabouts as we see the Wookiee Jedi scaring off some random scavengers on a forest planet at the end of the episode. So the episode opens up with another attack me with all your strength line. So stop doing that, please. Stop.
Please stop that.
Please stop. And then, so yeah, we open up with her trying to kill that Jedi floating in the ball there, which is again Tommen from Game of Thrones. So apparently, I wanted to bring this up. Apparently, there's a lot of issues. We'll talk about this in overall thoughts, but obviously, the show's been very polarizing on social media. But a lot of people have issues with the abilities that Jedis have in this show. The floating force thing. That dude was there for 10 years, I'm pretty sure they said, just floating in a force bubble of protection, which is insane.
Or he hasn't spoken in 10 years, maybe.
Was that what it was?
Maybe,
I thought
yeah.
he was in that meditation for 10 years, but that would make more sense if he just hadn't spoken, because it's a long time to be just
A long time to meditate.
suspended from air. He's going to be really... His mind's going to be clear as hell when he wakes up.
No, yeah. I really hope he's lucid dreaming that whole time, because
Well, it wasn't because he killed himself.
That's true.
Maybe it was so
Apparently,
clear.
He thought on that for 10 years and was like, yeah, I need to die. I'm a piece of trash. But a lot of people are complaining. Somebody else got their mind wiped from the Force at one point. Like, they talked about that. There were a lot of Force abilities that we haven't seen.
Oh.
But it makes sense. They've been in centuries of peace. All they've had time to do is hone in on their skills, work on certain things. We get that intro I forgot to mention in episode 1. It wasn't a scroll, but it was a paragraph kind of explaining the synopsis of the show. But it was an era of centuries of peace where the Jedi were not challenged. So, of course, they're a little bit more talented. And then once we get to where we are in the prequels, they're a little bit more closed-minded with stuff, and they're getting into this war. They're clouded. They're complacent. So that aspect makes sense to me. I think they should be more powerful in the High Republic era. They're at their peak as a Jedi society. I don't know. So I didn't have an issue with that.
Well, and if you're just a casual fan, you don't realize that the Force can actually manifest in different ways with different variations of powers. Like Zana with her mind control, or certain people with reanimation, or that one lady who could reanimate robots and make them sentient, and
Yeah.
so yeah, there's a lot of variety. So I'm cool with all that.
Yeah. Or even
Oh,
in
and that's
Brotherhood.
a great way to explain it. How they go in like the piece, and then going into Phantom Menace when there's more shit going on, so they're less focused. That was a great point, for sure, for the movies that came after.
And we get stuff, again, canon books and Brotherhood with the Obi-Wan and Anakin story, which is a major disappointment. But in that story, we get a Jedi Padawan whose ability is to feel pain. Not feeling, she senses pain, and she's able to relieve people of said pain through the Force. Like, that's one of her special abilities. So there's a lot of stuff. If you're a casual fan, then it's not an insult, but if you're not reading these novels, then you're not aware, and then maybe you're like, oh, they're just making up stuff for the show, and it's like, no, I don't have a problem with that at all. The Force is we don't nearly know close to all the aspects of the Force and what you can achieve through it, so I have no problem with new abilities like that kind of popping up here and there at all.
And it was a super funny line. The poison mixture guy goes, "You aren't gonna like wipe my mind or something."
Yeah,
it's like, what is this, Men in Black?
I immediately thought of Revan when he said that, and how they wiped his mind.
I thought that was a kind of cool tiny little Easter egg there. Like, yeah. And that guy, that shopkeep dude, he's talking to May at one point, and he says, the Jedi hide their galactic dominance under the banner of peace. And peace, and then she finishes the sentence and says, is a lie, I know. That's a part of the Sith code right there.
Yeah.
Peace is a lie is a part of the Sith code. So I wonder who this dude is. He doesn't seem to be a Sith. He seems to be like some goofy sidekick kind of guy who supplied the poison there. But he straight up dropped one of the Sith code lines. So I have to imagine that these people, we learn in that description, there's a few in the corners of the galaxy who are learning to use the Force, or who are harboring the Force, however it put it. And now they're dropping lines from the Sith mantra. So I have to feel like he's got to be involved in the Sith stuff, and I feel like we're going to get more broken into that, because we've never heard Sith mantra mentioned in any type of canon live action series.
Yeah.
So that, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that guy. He's one of my favorite characters too.
He's interesting.
He's very intriguing. I hope the next episode is more just them two. Let's get more on their story, instead of just the Jedi all the time.
Well, we will, because it's supposed to be focused on her, really, more than the Jedi. But, yeah.
I was going to say, they said it was supposed to be more Sith-oriented. We haven't really gotten that. There's more in Episode 2 with her, but it has not lived up to that. I expect much more Sith moving forward.
Yeah. I get the Sith. So we talked about the mystery Sith. So I think, and a lot of people think, that the Sith is an apprentice, actually, that we're seeing. And he's testing out May to be like, can you help me overthrow my master? Could you be my apprentice? Kind of deal. So I think there's another Sith above the one we saw on the coast, and this guy is teaching May the ways, and that's why he's putting her through this training. Like, you can't use a lightsaber right now. You got to hold your own without a saber. You got to prove yourself that you are, competent enough to be my apprentice. So I think that's what's happening.
Because you can't give out a lightsaber right now, probably.
Yeah, you can't have another dude running around with a red lightsaber, and then your master hears word of this, and now you got to kill your master.
Right.
That's who Plagueis could be. Because when you see this guy with a mask, it's not Plagueis. He's not there enough. He's not
the head shape's
enough.
Not right.
He's just kind of there. But this guy, if he has a master, that could be Plagueis.
Yeah. Could be Tenebrous too. I think it could bring. And that was another thing Leslie said. She said, yes, I'm not allowed to use Yoda. I mainly used EU, and I forgot what the other
Legends
pool she pulled. Well, that's EU. I mean, it's the same thing. But she mentioned that explicitly, that she is bringing EU characters into stuff. So that opens the door for Tenebrous, Plagueis. Yeah, she said in this show, I forgot what the other category was, but it was blah, 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 and EU characters. And I was like, okay. So
High Republic, maybe?
Yes, I think that's what it was. High Republic and EU characters is what she said. But so I think there's a lot of potential there. So we get the Jedi Torben. He gets awoken from this thing. He opens his eyes finally, and he admits to May, he says, we thought we were doing the right thing. And then he just willingly drinks poison and kills himself. So new mystery. What the hell is he talking about? What did the Jedi do on this planet that Master Soul was a part of? And again, May's running around saying, you know me, and they do. They recognize her instantly. So they did something. to the point where
Right.
they recognize this person. So something happened on that planet. So it makes me think maybe she wasn't the one who burned down everything and killed her whole
Yeah.
family. Maybe
Yeah.
something that the Jedi did caused that, you know, because they admitted to this guilt. And even Carrie Ann Moss's character, you could tell she almost was like disappointed to see that it was May. She's like, what are you doing here? You know, like her past is catching up to her kind of deal. So I will say they did start another mystery that I am interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought they solved the twin thing a little too quickly.
Yeah, going back and rewatching, that's what hooked me. That's what hooked me again. Then I was like, you know what? I actually kind of like this episode. So
Episode
I'm
two,
really
man.
interested. I'm really interested why she wants to kill then. So I'm all in, you know. And then I came to the conclusion that overall, I'm actually pretty stoked about the season, especially compared to what we've got. I'm just so glad it's not another Book of Boba Fett or like a season 3 of Mandalorian where I'm just like, do I want to watch the next episode? Like, no, I generally want to watch the next episode. And, you know, it hooked me like the other shows haven't lately. I was able to sit down and enjoy it. And, you know, they have a story going and the character development. It's, you know, the details of the things that we've wanted from all the other shows are put in here. You know, we don't have our flashy characters. We don't have our Boba Fett or Mandalorian. I would have loved it if they nailed that Boba Fett show, dude, for that character.
Could have been
'Cause
amazing.
it's such a cool character, so that sucks. But, you know, I'm cool with this show so far.
It's funny, the more we talk about it, so when I came into this episode, I was pretty confident I liked it the least out of us three. I'd probably put the premiere at a low 7 out of 10 at best. With hope. I still have hope, though. But the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, okay, you know, there is a lot of stuff to discuss, which is part of what makes a show good. If you don't have a lot of stuff to discuss, contemplate, theorize, it's not that interesting of a show. So I will give it that. It has provided some interesting options and possibilities.
It is the single greatest sci-fi show I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Well, that's... And I'll get into that when we get into overall thoughts. Some of the reaction to this show has been straight up just ridiculous on both sides of the aisle. But we'll get to that in our overall thoughts.
I got another little nitpick.
Yeah,
How
what you got?
does May sneak into this Jedi temple, the small Jedi temple, twice without being seen? Like maybe after the first time she's in there, let's bump up the security a little bit, you know?
Yeah, that I thought that too. They're a bunch of Jedi. And you had a hint that she came in the first time. How the hell do you just do worse next time? Like, I don't know. Whoever's running that deal, I don't know if Yoda's running that place or what, but wake the hell up, man.
Whoa.
Nah, Yoda would have sensed it and then been like, nah, it's not a problem. Okay, so the Jedi take Osha because Sol believes her. He's like, I don't believe she killed Master Andara, whatever. I can't remember their names, man. I'm sorry. But he's like, I believe her. And so we learn about it. Shit, what happened?
Believe her.
Just check your phone. Don't say anything.
Oh, YouTube.
Yeah. Don't say anything.
We would.
Anyway. So, Sol sticks up for her. They take her under their wing. They're like, she can help. And then while she's with them, they find there was another assassination. So they're like, okay, it's obviously not Osha. But before that point, when they find that dead Jedi Master, is Osha stupid? You're in the middle of proving your innocence to these Jedi, and you're going with them on this quest. So what do? Let's break away from them, sneak away, find a dead Jedi, and proceed to go up to it and touch all of the evidence surrounding said dead Jedi as you're trying to prove your innocence that you're not the one killing the Jedi. And then, what do you know? They stumble in while you're holding the poison and nobody saw you and you like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I just, that part alone was like, you're so dumb. And thankfully, Yord or whatever was like, no, I followed her. It wasn't her. But like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm glad they believed her that it wasn't her, but
it just drove me crazy.
She's just as dumb as her sister, though, because her sister left the freaking vial of poison behind.
Yeah, I don't think she cares. I feel like she don't care at all because she has a twin to lay all the blame on. So she's not even trying to cover her footsteps.
She's not supposed to use a weapon, though. She used poison. Doesn't that count?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she had knives in the other one. She
Yeah.
used weapon. I think when he says weapon, he means lightsaber because she used knives to kill her on the other kill, and now it's poison. But
it's true.
But didn't the poison guy say something about like, don't let him know you're using this or something like that? I think you're right. He did. There was a line like that.
Oh, when
isn't poison
when May,
not?
or when Osha's trying to be May?
Yeah.
He says that.
Yes.
The Sith
yes,
don't.
you're right.
Don't the Sith not like poison? Like in general, they think it's
They thought it's
cowardly. Yeah.
Yeah, weak.
So that's maybe that's why he said it, don't let him find out that you use poison to kill them, because
Maybe he's just like a Sith fanboy. He knows, he just like reads the books and shit.
could be.
True. There's
Follows
those.
him around.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we got our classic I got a bad feeling about this in episode 2 from Yord as their
I saw that.
I forgot what they're going when he said that, but got to throw that in there. And then we get the fight scene between Master Soul and May. So, although it was force fu again because Soul won't pull his lightsaber out, the choreography is good still. It is good. I thought it was another good fight scene. I think I'm just getting impatient because I want to see some lightsaber scenes. We talk about a lot of the early reviewers were like, we got fight scenes to rival the prequels, all this stuff, and then we didn't have a single lightsaber fight, which is what Star Wars fans want. Let's be real. We're not here to see lightsabers cutting knives in the air. We want to see a lightsaber duel. I know we still have episodes left, and I trust we're going to see lightsaber duels, but I wish we at least got one in these first 2 episodes.
But that one from the trailer is going to be sick when they finally meet that.
In the forest with the Sith?
Yeah.
That
yeah.
should be. That's kind of make or break. I feel like if that scene ends up being disappointing, that I'm going to lose hope for the rest of the series. But if it's dope, it's going to get my hopes soaring for the rest of the series.
But when Soul's about to go to the fight and he tells Osha like stay behind, and she goes, "You're not my master." I was just like, and it was totally like Anakin, stay behind, like don't let Mace take care of it, don't go with him.
Yeah, she's got Anakin / Cal Kestis vibes to her.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, she's even got her own BD droid essentially, and she's doing scrap work like Cal was doing in Fallen Order. So there's a lot of similarities there. So yeah, that was pretty much the end of it. We get the end of the episode. She finds out where the Wookiee is. Sorry, Wookiee, I forgot what your name is. And it was kind of goofy. I don't know. The scavengers come up to his ship. Yeah, that sounds right. Kelnaka. And he uses the Force to pull the weapon out of his hands, and they run off. And I don't know. It was fine, I guess. It was a scene that it wasn't like that was a dope end scene. It was just kind of like, oh, credits hit. That was it. All right, weird.
That was a weird. I had to watch it again to make sure I didn't miss something in the dark like that happened. Because it's like you just kind of showed him going about his day. So I was so excited when I heard about a Jedi Wookiee, though. I can't lie, because as soon as I said that, I was like, oh, that's so sick. Because I already was liking all the new planets and the weird species of people. But with a Jedi Wookiee, let's go. Yeah, you kind of wanted that scene to be like showing how badass he is or showing something. It was just like he walking around, walked his dog, grabbed his mail, and then you go to the next episode.
Walked his Wookiee dog.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was all right. But so that was the end of the episode. I personally liked it less than the first. I wasn't blown away by either of them, but I definitely enjoyed the first more than the second. So let's just get into our overall thoughts on the premiere. Anything else you haven't touched on yet? I will say this show is twice the budget of the Kenobi series, and I did appreciate that aspect of this show. The lack of volume in a lot of the scenes, it looked better. It looked a lot better than a lot of the stuff we got out of Kenobi and Ahsoka. It felt more lived in. The world felt more lived in. It felt like a real setting as compared to a lot of the other stuff. So that was a noticeable improvement for me on this show.
Yeah. No more volume, please.
Here and there is fine, but you're doing an epic thing between Vader and Kenobi. Let's not do a volume construction site. Let's just put a little more effort into that one,
Construction site, oh no.
Like that planet Kofar is a perfect example. That was a really pretty shot when they showed us Kofar, and I want to spend some time on that planet. It's this big old jungle planet. So I'm excited to see more of that Wookiee there. I like the score, too. I think the score is really good. There's a couple times when it goes a little too much, like Disney kind of, but their medium-level stuff, I think, is really good. Mm-hmm. So I like the score, and I like how many questions we have. So that's a big takeaway for me. So I'm into it. It's a good, mid to, it's like a 7.7 for me. I feel like both episodes are now the same after I rewatch them. They're both up there, and I expect it to get better is the main point. It's something I'm willing to invest in.
Straight up. Which is all you can hope for out of a premiere. You know, if you are looking forward to the next episode, then I guess that's a successful premiere.
Yeah.
Shoot, I was gonna say something you just touched on, but we can move on. Leb, what were you gonna say?
I'm more on with JD. I'm pretty excited for the next episode, but there is still, it's not perfect. Like, I do wish the show was more about the dark side, like they're talking about. Like, I feel like this whole gang of Jedi we have going is not what I wanted to see, but I do like Master Soul at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The pace is pretty fast. These first 2 episodes are kind of flying by with the story so far. So I hope they kind of slow it down, and we get to kind of learn more about these characters before they die. Maybe that's what they're doing, and we'll get some more deaths later in the season. But if there's no more deaths, then it might not be as great. And I really hope that May doesn't turn like halfway through the show, but it seems like they're already teasing it where when she sees her sister, she goes, Oshi, like says her nickname, and like there was a scene where like she doesn't kill the guy because he has a kid with her, and like so I do I would probably guess that she's gonna turn, but with that theory you guys had where maybe May didn't start the fire and it was the Jedi, maybe Osha turns and joins her sister, and they kind of got a little tag team dark side sisters going
Sith.
on, but yeah, dual Sith.
And they overthrow that mystery Sith.
Yeah, right, but that's probably not going to happen. It's Disney.
Yeah.
We're going to get May turning, back, or May turns back and then she immediately dies. That can also happen where she turns and then sacrifices herself. That's a good classic thing.
Or what if we find out the Sith is involved in this mystery, and then we get a big revelation, and then he was involved in that fire somehow.
That would make sense.
I think there's a good chance. Yeah.
Someone was involved.
I did it again. I had something I was going to bounce right off of what you just said. I don't think they're going to do that, because I think the main point of this show is to expose the Jedi. It feels like Leslie Hyland is making a point of showing the Jedi aren't all good, and actually they were corrupt, or they were this and that. I feel like part of this series is to literally point out the fault of the Jedi and to break the thought of the Jedi are good, the Sith are bad. I feel like they're trying to break that, so I don't think they'll bring May back to the light side of things.
Maybe I thought you were saying that's why they wouldn't bring the villain into the mystery. Is that not what you're saying? Because then I was going to say that mystery could still be like whatever they did wrong created this villain somehow.
No, I wasn't saying that about the villain. Just May in general. May. I don't think May is going to turn good at the end of this, because I think the good side of things is meant to be shown as flawed in this series.
Oh, and then when Osha finds out the truth, maybe she doesn't know the full truth why May went so bad, and she will go dark. I think that does make more sense.
Because she's dedicated to them still, Soul even says, we saved her as a kid. She, looks up to us. She didn't do this. There's no way. And she does. Every time she's on screen, she gives that vibe of, she still looks to the Jedi with reverence. She still looks at them like, I respect you guys. It's just that's not my life. I'm not cut out for this kind of deal. Every time she has a scene with Master Soul, she still seems to have that respect for the Jedi. But
and it's totally something they would do to just shield her from whatever truth that May is aware of. That they would shield she would never know.
And they always do that. Just like you said, Professor X. He lied and shielded the truth, thinking that it was in the best interest of said person, even though it created trauma down the line. But so this show is insanely polarizing, as I mentioned before, and as expected. I figured it would be. A lot of people were pissed off about the press tour with Leslie Hyland and a lot of the comments made by cast, and a lot of other people were pissed off about how mad Star Wars fans already were. So it's kind of a battle of Star Wars fans going on right now. But I think the show's overhyped and overhated. Because we have
You can't say that.
We don't have a middle ground, bro. It's either extreme, this is the best Star Wars product we've ever seen in the world, or this is pure garbage and straight woke nonsense. That's the majority of the takes you see on social media. And again, social media is a poisonous wasteland, and I'm on there too much because of this damn podcast. But it's there. It's the polarization of the takes is just ridiculous on both ends. It's straight up like we're in politics with this show. It's like everybody's got to be extreme on one side or extreme on the other the majority of the time. And I don't know. So the critic score is over a 90, and the audience score is in the 40s for this series right now. So that's a pretty great example of what I'm talking about.
It's in the middle.
It's all over the exactly, and I think it's right at 70. I think it's. I don't think it's amazing, and I don't think it's garbage. I think it was a decent premiere. I still have hope for it. I think it could end up being a really good series. I was slightly disappointed, but I'm not out on it. But I also don't think it was the greatest thing we've ever seen as far as Star Wars goes. Now, that being said, it was the biggest Disney Plus launch this year, which that's the other thing. Disney Plus dropped a bunch of stats for this show saying it was the highest or the most watched Disney Plus series of the year. But the problem is there's only been two other series that have dropped, and they've never released stats on The Mandalorian or anything like that in the past. So they're literally just now dropping these numbers for this year to build the hype up for it. And so it's kind of a disingenuous stat they're throwing out there. It doesn't really mean a lot.
People to watch.
But they got 4.8 million views in its first day, which is pretty solid. I mean, so the hype was there for the show. But it's just
minutes or views?
I think just users that press play that had a Disney Plus account. It brings me to the fact of, like I said, I'm disappointed by some aspects of it, but I still have hope. A lot of game left in the series, but it just kind of sucks. We're in the state of fandom we are. It's just there's just so much divisiveness, and everybody is. If you hate it, it's just because you're a sexist and you want it to fail, and if you love it, you're paid to love it. And it's just exhausting after a while. You just can't have an opinion on stuff when it comes to social media with this stuff. So you just kind of have to ignore the majority of the things that people are saying. But yeah, overall, that's where I'm at with it. I was disappointed by stuff. I liked certain things, but I still have hope for it. I think it still could end up being a show that matches up to Ahsoka. It could surpass Obi-Wan. We'll see. I don't think it's going to hit levels of Andor. Some people are comparing it to Andor as far as quality, and I think the dialogue immediately eliminates it from being in contention with Andor. It's just not written as well. But I don't get it. I don't get the ultimate hate or the ultimate worship of this series. I think, can you just be normal and just have a normal opinion on it and just kind of move on from that? I don't know. That's my rant. That's my social media rant for the episode. But I got it at a 7.
This episode's a great blueprint for that. I think we have the most reasonable take on the internet right now.
I would have to agree, and that's not biased at all. All right. So obviously we got hope for the remaining series. You guys like the premiere. I'm on the fence, but I still have hope. You guys got any predictions you want to throw out as far? Do you think this could surpass Obi-Wan and Ahsoka for you guys?
I think Ahsoka. It could.
Okay,
it's still possible for me. It's taking all these aspects from what I wanted in all these Star Wars projects the last 4 or 5 years. All these aspects that were just not there are all shoved into this, and it's not amazing. It's not like they're executing it perfectly or anything, but it's just I'm so satisfied to see certain things in this show. So if they do that the whole time and it gets better and better, I think it'd be one of my favorites.
Straight up. Lub?
Yeah, and it's going to be 8 episodes, multiple seasons. So I'm excited to see what happens in the future.
It's what?
8 episodes, planned for multiple seasons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this isn't just a one and done kind of show. Yeah. So I do like that.
All right. I don't know if I was aware that it was going to be multiple seasons. I feel like I just heard that for the first time, but
Same.
Again, I'm not out. I'm not out on it yet. I'm looking forward to Tuesday to watching the next episode to see what they bring. But we'll see. We'll see what that brings us. Do you guys have any other closing thoughts on this episode before we head out of here?
Nope.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us for our coverage of the Acolyte season 1, episode 1 and 2. We will be covering it.
No more episodes.
That's done. We're done.
Short.
Good luck.
Pretty anticlimactic.
We will be covering it every episode for this series. It's Star Wars, so we're going to be covering every episode. That's just what we do. We're going to be having some special guests coming on. I believe returning guest Cody will be joining us for episode 3. And then we want to do some collabs, with the Galactic Core podcast, Lights Camera Rant, the Clan Brandalorian. Who knows? Whoever's up to do a little collab, I think we're going to have a lot of guests on for the next few episodes here. So continue to tune in. If you think we're wrong and we're haters and we just hate Star Wars and want it to fail, aka me, or if you think you're bought out and are just saying good things about it because you're paid to, let us know in the comments of our post that will be coming soon. But
If you love Kathleen Kennedy, let us know.
We don't say that name here. We're all trying to have a good time here. So, as we said, we're not going to be covering much other than the Acolyte going forward for the next few weeks. So continue to tune in to these episodes. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to my co-hosts, Jeremy and Caleb, for joining me here tonight on just another beautiful night of Star Wars. And we will see you next time on Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast.